Hello and welcome to Tilted Pod. I usually say another episode, but this is just a episode, and I hope you're doing really great because I'm doing awesome. Guys, it's been 2 weeks since we talked to you last, and in that 2 weeks, a lot has happened in my life, and I think a lot's happened in Mag's life.
Oh, yeah.
Also, Nate, the Daywalker Morris, a lot's going on in his life, and I hope that you guys reach out to him when you get a chance, if you get a chance. But I just had a baby. Done.
Woohoo!
Had it.
Over with.
Sorry to just jump right into this. This is a magic podcast, but we're just going to go ahead and say it. Baby's done. We did it.
It's here.
We're there. Cue the clapping. Yeah. Okay. But this is not about my life. You know, this is about magic.
Uh-huh.
Even though she's pretty cool and I'm pretty excited about her and everything.
You can talk about it.
I'm not going to talk about it. Because no one else wants to hear that. But I just wanted to let you guys know that that is what we were doing last week, literally on the day we normally record, we were having a baby. So this week we are coming back with some results, we're going to try a new format. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to do a deck doctor at the end of this episode. We're going to go a little less over each individual list because when you're driving and you're listening to the show, I can understand that sometimes that might get a little. I mean, you might not really be able to interact with it.
Yeah, you can. I could see you just tuning out, looking down the highway.
I mean, sometimes I tune out because we talk modern so much.
Yeah.
I start tuning out as we're talking about it because it's like we've talked about the same decks so many
that's
times.
what I was about to say. And the format doesn't change often enough
to really warrant. And now we can talk. Now, I don't know if I'm actually smart enough to be like see the tiny edges. Like I do like
talk
to
about
see,
card choices and stuff.
Yeah, and we do. And we talk about card choices, and that's kind of been our game. But I don't think that I'm coming from a educated enough. I feel like I call cards.
Yeah. Oh, but for sure.
But it's not like, I mean, we're no Jerry T over here. Okay, right? We're not. No. And you don't come here if you really want that. You probably want to listen to a game podcast.
Yeah, we're not bringing the new hotness to the Pro Tour here.
But what we do is we have scotch and we talk about magic and we hopefully bring a little bit of enjoyment into your lives, and it brings a lot of enjoyment to our lives just talking about it.
Yeah, plus we have those wonderful voices and the amazing personalities.
It's mostly that. It's mostly that we're great, amazing people, and they're super sexy voices. All right, so we're going to start off, though, the same way that we start off every week, and that is what we've been doing in Magic. Cue it!
Chicka-chicka. All right, so I played, it was a little late. We had a Battle Bond. It wasn't like the Battle Bond pre-release, like the big event weekend. We waited a little bit because our local game store didn't order a product initially. So we waited, but we did have that. I believe it was the weekend before last.
I thought we talked about Battle Bond. You won that one.
Yeah, I did. I did win that one. I think I messaged you about it. I don't know if we talked about it on the pod. If we did, I'm sorry. But anyway, won that. That was fun. And then I went to draft, M19 draft.
That's
pre-release.
What we need to talk about because I haven't talked about pre-release. We haven't done anything on M19. So, what did you think about M19? I'm actually just gonna ask you questions about it.
Okay.
Since I haven't gotten to play it, since I was tied up in hospital doing things like that, working with family. What did you think about M19?
I like it.
You do.
Totally feels like a core set.
Yes. So it's very basic.
Yes, which is interesting because core sets to me, when I played Standard, the short time that I did, well, it was actually like 5 years that I played Standard for. But anyway, there was like Bolt and Manaleek and Titans and all that stuff. That was the core set.
Right.
So this is strikingly different from the core sets that I know. However, it does feel like a core set. For sure, absolutely.
I love core set when it comes to limited because it is the nuts and bolts of Magic, typically.
It's super balanced,
I actually thought that this set looked a little more interesting, but all I've heard from people, I mean, when you look at it on paper, there's some cool cards that are going on, So I thought maybe this was going to be a little crazier, but I've heard nothing but people being like, this is the most basic set we've ever played.
Okay, so like a general overview, it feels like a core set. There aren't any cards that are strikingly good for Eternal formats, like on paper. I may be wrong. Something may pop out. Like Alpine Moon may be super good, and I just don't know it.
No, I don't think Alpine Moon is. I do think there is one card that is already 5-0 to a Legacy League. Stitcher. What is that called?
The
Stitcher.
Stitcher's Apprentice or something like that. The one drop black guy that makes your
3,
God-Ferris
and then when it
gift
dies,
super good.
mills 3 again.
Yeah.
That card is going to be modern and Legacy playable. I think.
You think so? So you think what, like a Dredge?
I think
Dredge
I think it's better in Dredge than either
Artifact?
any. It might be better than the Artifact because it actually hits.
Yeah.
Too. I also think it's better than if you're not playing Artifact, you're playing. What's the Menace one? Jeez.
The
Vampire.
Neonate?
Yes. I definitely think it's better than that. And it also facilitates you to be able to play, like, red you're going to be playing anyways, but I feel like it's going to facilitate certain other decks where, like, black, just being a one-drop black card might be a little bit better. I do think the card is good. It provides value for a lot of decks.
Yeah, I like it a lot. My recent experience with it is I built blue-black God-Pharaoh's Gift on Arena because I had that new Hot Spice, that new black one-drop. That's what made me want to do it. So it's 4 of those, 4 Minister of Inquiries, 4 Walking Ballista, just everything that shoves stuff in your graveyard. And then you just combo off and win. It's so good going into the late game. I think it's definitely going to be a presence in Standard for sure. But as far as the set goes, outside of that, I went to pre-release. I did really well. I ended up getting, I got second. I made a really, I built white-black, I guess it was vampires. It was a lot of you gain life, like Fountain of Renewals, the one-drop vampire that drains your opponent for 1, gains you 1. And then just a bunch of bombs on top of that. Oh, my big bomb, speaking of, was Resplendent Angel.
Oh, that's a huge bomb.
So I made...
I feel like that's huge in this.
Well, in a core set where they don't print Bolt, I mean, I think they printed Lightning Strike in core set 19.
I think there is Lightning Strike, yes.
So it dies to Lightning Strike and other hard removal like Murder and stuff. But I was gaining minimum of 5 a turn, and then that's a great mana sink late game. So I did really well, but I made a really bad misplay round 3. It was 4-round pre-release. Round 3, I missed a Doom Dissenter trigger. So I had put the enchantment that says gets +2/+0 when this creature dies, draw a card on a Doom Dissenter. So my Doom Dissenter is a 4/2, bashing, getting in there. I end up using him to block. I was so focused on my draw a card trigger that I forgot to get my 2/2 zombie until the next turn.
Yeah, that's no good.
And didn't get it, and I did the math over the course of the game, and I would have had exactly lethal.
That's a bummer.
So that was a big
Don't miss
punt.
your triggers, kids.
Yep, there you go. Lesson learned there. I certainly won't ever miss a Doom Dissenter trigger again, that's for sure. But anyway.
But overall, you enjoy
I did well. I like the set. And then I also played in a draft, an M19 draft, which is just this recent Friday Night Magic. Got third. I played an Enigma Drake deck, which was super good. A lot of spells. I also was playing Psychic Corrosion. Get this. Oh my gosh. I built the deck solely for this reason. So I had Psychic Corrosion, 1 with the machine, and the 5-drop artifact that gets +2/+0 if you control a blue creature. So 1 with the machine reads, draw cards equal to the highest converted mana cost of an artifact you control. Okay. So he's a 5-drop. I have Psychic Corrosion, and I played 1 with the machine, drew 5 cards, milled my opponent for 10. That's all I wanted to do. That was like my deck. Like I got those. Those were my initial picks, and I was like, if I can do this just once, I'll be happy. Round 2, I pulled it off
and lost.
No, I got it. I super got it. But I lost to my one loss at the draft was to the 6-drop enchantment that gives enchanted creature +7/+7 and trample.
That seems good.
That card is a
In limited.
freaking house in draft, dude.
Yeah.
Super good. But
I
had a great
love
time.
limited cards like that. And there's not that much removal in this set as I remember. So like removals is definitely at a premium in this set.
Yeah, it's a super slow format. So all of your low end removal is in red. So I had like shock and it's like tap 4, deal 4 or something to target creature. But anyway, so that's your low curve, and then when you get into black, you get murder and the other hard removal.
Some very hard, removal. Yeah, whatever. Oh, okay.
You got it.
So let's talk about what these cards did to Standard just a little bit. And we can see kind of maybe where Standard is heading based on the Classic that we had this weekend. We're not, again, like we talked about, we're not going to go over these decks in full, right? But we'll talk about where the new cards showed up. And Brandon Dempsey won the Classic with Mono Green Aggro. And I'm pretty sure that Andrew Jessup maybe was playing this deck, and maybe he showed up afterwards with it. But this is a Llanowar Elves deck, Scrap Heap Scrounger. The M19 cards we're seeing, though, are Thorn Lieutenant, which is a 2-drop Elf Warrior. And whenever it becomes a target of a spell or ability opponent controls, create a 1/1 green Elf Warrior. And then it has pay 6, and it gets +4/+4 until end of turn. It's also a 2-mana 2/3.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing bad about this card.
Not
It's
at
just
all.
kind of a good card. It's aggressive. It's fast. I think that Modern Elves might have benefited a lot from this.
Yeah, because they also got that new 2-drop Lord too.
Right, but I think that even this deck, Elves players might have been sleeping on this card. This might be really good for Elves, just as a beatdown plan. A 2-mana 2/3 is really not that bad, and you can't really target it.
And there are a lot of decks that rely heavily on spot removal. Like
Right.
if you're not playing engineered explosives or some mass removal, you're relying on that fatal push
And
or
maybe
those bolts.
it might get outclassed really fast, but it's still pretty cool. The other card that we're seeing here is we got 4 Vine Mares. Did not expect to see this one showing up, but we got a 5/3 that's hexproof, and it can't be blocked by black creatures. What do you think about this card?
I think it's super good. Hexproof is huge. Number
Hexproof
one
is really big.
It's
I mean, a lot of people
it's a
forget
5/3.
that it's
So like
good.
if this card didn't have hexproof, it'd be trash because it dies to a Braid Lightning Strike. So this is super good against red decks. Number one. Number two, it can't be blocked by black creatures. So your Scarab God decks, your Gifted Aetherborn, Glint Sleeve Siphoner, Winding Constrictor decks just cannot play against this card outside of their Explore creatures.
Yeah, man. I mean, you might be right.
And even then, it just trades because it's 5 power. It's huge.
Yeah, 5/4. It's interesting. But yeah, so we're already seeing a little bit of a splash. We've got in second place Jonathan Job with Grixis Midrange. These are names that we know. Grixis Midrange, it's obviously playing one card that we all kind of expected to see coming, which is Nicol Bolas, the Ravager. So, Nicol Bolas, the Ravager, what do you think about this card? Do you think that it is worth buying into the set at all, or do you think it's going to be like one of the few cards that maybe sticks around?
I don't know.
Is it really even that great?
I don't know that you want to crack packs to try and get Nicol Bolas, but if you can pick them up on the cheap, I would for sure do that. Personally, number one, it's a 4/4 flyer for 4.
I mean, I
Awesome.
love 4/4 flying for 4 dragons. In paper, this card's going for 35 right now.
That's reasonable, I think. I think it's that. I think it's $35
You think
good.
it's a $35 card?
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe a $20 card, but
Well, it enters and you get value right when it enters the battlefield because your opponent discards a card. It's also super good in Commander, too.
we're also really early in the format, so this card may go down in price. I mean, we're still opening M19, but I do think from the way people are talking about it, not that many people are going to be opening M19,
Yeah,
a value set.
Yeah, that's what I
So
was saying.
just like Jace, Baby Jace, this card may, if it is that good, and it does, I mean, it constrained by being 3 colors. If this was like Karn in this set,
Yeah.
it would be terrible. That card would be $1,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it'll go down because it won't be valued in Standard, I don't think, as high. But I think eternally, over time, this card will go back up and retain some value because it's just a good card overall. You got a 4/4 flyer for 4, which is great.
I just think they needed another 4 mana spot too. That was something
Yeah.
that filled out the curve a little bit.
Yeah,
because-
exactly. It makes your opponents discard a card, which is, and it says each opponent, so it's super good in multiplayer Commander. And then it's a great mana sink for the late game, which Standard very much is a mid to late game format.
Right.
And it flips into the best Planeswalker that's ever been printed.
Mm-hmm. We also have Red Green Monsters showing up in 6th place, and I think this deck was around for a little bit. I love Red Green Monsters, thanks to Chris Van Meter. Back in the day, whenever it was like Green Red Dragons and really awesome. Probably the best I've ever done in Standard was with decks that he built, based on the these kind of big wonky red green decks. They were doing really terrible, though, against the control decks. And now Banefire gets introduced in M19, and Red Green Monsters is top 8ing, and beating control decks because Banefire just can't be handled. You get in some damage early, and then you just smash them with the big Banefire. So that's pretty cool. We also have a Grixis Dragon deck that's playing some Sarkans.
Super awesome.
4 of the Nicol Bolas Ravager, some Demanding Dragons.
It's interesting because they're just straight up mono red, and they only splash for Nicol Bolas.
Yeah, and unlicensed disintegration, and they don't even really have that many artifacts.
So it's your black, it's your basically black red mid range. Just with Sarkhan, Nicol Bolas, and Demanding Dragon.
And some
which
interesting
I don't even know what
sideboards.
Demanding Dragon does. It's a 5/5 flyer for 5, 3 colorless and 2 red, flying.
Enters the battlefield, does 5 damage to a target creature unless it, or to a opponent. Unless
they sack a creature.
What is that effect called? Some sort of bully effect. Browbeat. Browbeat. It is Browbeat on it, printed on it. White Black Knights. Do we see anything new in this? We've got 3 Ajanis. So we're seeing these new cards. I mean, in Standard, M19's not... I mean, it's not just dead.
Yeah,
it's making
up,
a little bit
sure.
of waves. Obviously, this is super early. People don't have their hands on cards, and people are trying things that maybe necessarily won't... When things get fleshed out, won't really be there.
One thing I am surprised that I don't see any Crucible World decks, which I had thought to myself would end up being good, like Crucible World Deserts.
I did hear, I heard people talk about, so I did hear people talk about making a Scapeshift deck in Standard, and that people were playing around with it, but they're not, I haven't really heard of any good results yet online.
You pretty much have every piece to Scapeshift in Standard except for Valakuts.
Well, that's a pretty big piece, though.
Exactly. So it's what value can you get off of playing Hour of Promise and Scapeshift without Valakut is what will determine whether the deck is good or not. And as of right now, I don't know of anything that hoses anything that's good to Scapeshift into.
Right. Well, as you know, we're primarily a modern, we're an eternal format podcast for the most part. So yes, I do that. I do think that this M19 coming into Standard was pretty cool.
Yep.
But I really want to talk about what's happening in Modern right now, and we did miss a GP. We missed GP Barcelona. So let's just talk about those results for a second.
We also missed Sao Paulo too.
Oh, that's the one I meant. I'm sorry. We missed GP Sao Paulo. So Sao Paulo was a modern tournament won by Jose Luis Escarves Paredes.
I think you just nailed that.
I think I just killed that name right there. So thank you, Jose Luis Escarves Paredes. He was playing Mardu Pyromancer. So Mardu Pyromancer has been kind of crushing lately.
Yeah, it's been super popular.
It's been doing really well. This is that whole Jerry T thing. I swear, he makes a deck, and people are just like, we should play that deck. We should just play it. He defeated Leonardo Giucci, which I like this guy a lot because he's kind of reminds me of Manguchi.
Yeah.
But he was playing Abzan Traverse. We are big haters of Abzan decks on this channel. So if you like Abzan, don't come here. But this guy's playing Grizzly Salvage in his deck, so it's a little bit different than traditional Abzan, and it's playing Bobble.
As much as I don't like Abzan, he's playing Siege Rhino, dude. That just makes me gives me butterflies in my stomach.
That is Abzan, though. I hate that. That's what makes me mad about it. I think that's the card that bothers me. I think the fact that he's playing Mishra's Bauble is making me more excited. Are you a Abzan supporter? Did we just find out that Mac live on channel right now is an Abzan supporter?
Let me put it this way. I like the Rock, and I don't think Lingering Souls is bad.
Okay, well, I hate this deck, and I like this one way more than traditional Abzan, but I hate Abzan, and we all know it, and I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna continue to hate Abzan.
I think Grizzly Salvage, Traverse the Uvenwald, Grim Flare, Siege Rhino, and Lingering Souls are all good cards.
I do.
Are they as good as playing Jund?
No, but I don't think this is a traditional Abzan list. I think that typical Abzan lists are like they're not playing the traverses. They're not playing the, you know what I mean? Like, I think this is a cooler list. So congratulations to you, Leonardo Gucci. We got Crackland Ironworks in third place, Tron in fourth, Affinity in fifth, Amulet Titan in sixth, Red Green Eldrazi in seventh, and Mardu Pyromancer in eighth. So double Mardu Pyromancers, but this is eight different decks, or 7 different decks in the top 8, which is really good.
There seems to be a theme here.
But there is something going on here, and that is one card in particular. One card to rule them all, and that was Ancient Stirrings. Now, here's the thing that I like about Ancient Stirrings. Every one of the Ancient Stirrings decks is different.
Yeah.
And that means that the card is not bust. If this was Ponder, it would be we'd be saying the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing.
There's
if there's
a lot
bunch
of
of blue
different
decks in here, it would be like, okay, every deck is running Serum Visions. Do we go ban Serum Visions? No. If this was all the exact same deck abusing Ancient Stirrings,
it would not be good.
Right. And this is why I think Ancient Stirrings was completely safe, and it's fine. Yes, is it the best cantrip? Probably, but it does have deck building constraints. At the same time, those constraints aren't that heavy, seeing as a lot of things you want to do in Modern anyways revolve around colorless cards. But that's pretty cool that we've got Crackling Ironworks, Tron, Amulet Titan, Red Green Eldrazi all playing this card, and none of them are even close to the same deck.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even close.
It's pretty wild. Like, you know, you have 39 copies of Lightning Bolt in the top 16. Do you ban Lightning Bolt? No.
Right. So I think that, a lot of people have been calling for Ancient Stirrings. I personally love colorless cards, so I never want to see Ancient Stirrings go because I think it's a great card. Do I think it's oppressive? No.
I think it falls into the same category as Lightning Bolt. It's the best card at what it does, and if you're playing green, you're playing an Ancient Stirrings deck, but you're not doing you're not even playing an Ancient Stirrings deck if you're playing green. Because look, you got Abzan, one thing I am disappointed is the Affinity list isn't playing Ancient Stirrings.
Right, but it could have. It could have because like we saw Austin play it, but like a couple weeks ago or whatever. Like the affinity with Ancient Stirrings does exist.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If Ancient Stirrings was that busted, Affinity, the deck that plays only colorless cards outside of Galvanic Blast, would be. I guess you have Master of Ethereum and Vault Scourge. They're technically colored, but they'd be playing it if it was that busted. Like if it was the card to play, you'd see it.
For our top cards in this tournament, I think it's pretty interesting that Lightning Bolt is back on top. It's so funny that we don't even see a Fatal Push around, and I remember when that card was basically you had to have Fatal Push or your deck sucked.
Makes me super happy to be playing Tempest Gen and taking turns.
Yeah, it's crazy. But Lightning Bolt is number 1, Primeval Titan number 2 for this tournament, which is
surprising.
Super wild. Like, how wild is that? Ancient Stirrings number 3, Sakura Tribuilder number 4, Search for Tomorrow. So obviously this was a huge tournament for Titan Shift, Titan Breach, Scape Shift. Like, there was a lot of them in the top 16. There was a lot of them total. And my boy, Hollow One still made a top 13 or a top 16. Hollow One's always in the top 16, I swear. I'm pretty pumped on this Red Green Eldrazi, though. I think this is a deck that I think
it's super good.
I really like this deck. I think the cool thing, we're going to talk about one thing real quick about them. They're playing 4 Noble Hierarchs, and they're playing 3 Burial Druids, which gives you a colorless mana, which is really cool. It's an Ice Age snow creature elf druid. It's a little bit better than the birds, I think, too, because it's a 1/1.
Yeah,
and it gives you the mana you really need.
They just put this together recently. Like I feel like the Eldrazi players who were on Red Green Eldrazi just recently were like, oh my gosh, Boreal Druid is
it's just
exactly
way better.
Where we need to be.
The only thing I don't love about this deck though is like the addition of Bloodbraid Elf. Because a Bloodbraid Elf gets you, it gets you a mana reshaper. It hits a lot of things.
I think the big thing is you can Bloodbraid into Obligator and take a creature.
You can't take a creature.
Why?
It's not a when
you cast Eldrazi Obligator, you may pay if you do gain control.
Do you get to cast it?
Bloodbraid Elf reads. Cascade when you cast a spell, exile cards.
You can counter the spell.
So yeah, you still get to pay.
So for 6 mana, you can Bloodbraid into Mana Reshape or into Obligator,
and you can tap a Temple for 2 for that ability.
No, you cannot.
You cannot.
You cannot pay for that ability.
Okay.
So that ability you do have to pay 2 mana. So you have to have 6 lands.
But I mean, you're running 7 nerds.
No, you're right. Okay, no, I think they're right. Yeah, I think it is just better than having the extra Scavenging Oozes, which is what we saw when this deck first won a GP. I have all the cards for this deck. I really should just try it. Mm-hmm. I bought them because I was like, this deck looks cool.
So this is it's like Eldrazi Stompy that's not playing Chalice of the Void. Okay, and it's like
this is way more aggressive.
Yeah, its curve is super low.
I mean, the fact that you go, all right, cool, I'm gonna play my big Death Shadow, and I'm gonna Obligator it and kill your Death Shadow. And then still smash you for 3?
Dude, their Death Shadow matchup is absurd because they have Grove of the Burn Willows.
Yeah, it's not even close. And if they ever do get a Death Shadow down, if your life total is high enough because you don't have fetches,
if anything, this deck is why Death Shadow's dead.
It definitely hurts the Death Shadow. I think it has a really good matchup against your deck as well, against Hollow One. If you just go good Hollow One, I don't know. I just think Obligator is really good, and if you don't play around it, Obligator with a deck that has really big creatures is just going to jack you.
The thing with Hollow One is you lose with Hollow One by getting out aggroed, and I know that sounds weird, but Hollow One's a mana acceleration deck disguised as an aggro deck, so you can easily I play my turn 2 Gurmag Angler, and then you untap, play another Temple, and just go Obligator, take it, smash you, and already I'm down in single digits because I've been shocking myself or whatever. It's super good. I think Obligator is what makes this deck tick.
Here's what we're going to do, everybody out there. We are actually going to put this deck together. We're going to smash some games with it because we have the cards for it. The deck is ready to go. And we're going to see what it's like. We're going to see how good it is. I can't tell. I want to deck doctor this deck soon.
Yeah,
we're not going to do it this time today.
I was about to say,
we've kind of been breaking it down already.
I was about to say we were talking earlier in the pod about we wanted to do a deck doctor, and we've been discussing doing stuff like our decks of the week personally that we pick. I'd have to say, without even looking at any of the other modern results from the past 2 weeks, I love this deck, and this is my absolute pick. I think this deck is great. I think it's positioned really well. I just think it's super good.
If you like red-green aggressive decks, this is the best red-green aggro deck in Modern, right?
Yeah.
So there is just red-green Bushwhacker Zoo. Yes, that is probably a little bit more aggressive deck. But
you have red-green Hollow One too, which is okay.
Yeah, but I'm just saying overall, those may be a little bit a turn faster if needed.
Yeah.
This is a really fast deck that also gets to play
into the late game with Thought-Knot Seers and Reality Smashers.
Yeah, and Bloodbraid Elves.
It can also play Reality
and
Smasher on turn 3, dude.
Yeah. It can cast its big spells fast. And you get to pay main deck.
Wait, actually, can this turn 2 Reality Smasher? So you go turn 1 Green Source, play a Mana Nerd, turn 2 Temple, so that's only 4 still.
Yeah, you can turn 2.
Yeah,
it can turn 2 a Thought-Knot Seer easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's an everyday thing.
I think that's what it does.
That's an everyday thing. But you can turn 3 Reality Smasher or Obligator plus jack your creature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. Or just Bloodbraid Elf into whatever. Matter Reshaper would be awesome.
Turn 3, you can Bloodbraid Obligator.
We're playing
this
deck tonight. Possibly. I don't know. I'm building this deck right away.
Yeah,
And we're gonna try it out because And I will say this. I've been playing with Grove of the Burnwillows in the KCI deck, and playing Grove of the Burnwillows is actually really awesome when you're playing against Death Shadow. I played against it twice, and I was just like, God, this card is awesome.
You have two. I've seen it so many times when I watch like coverage of any big tournament, and I'm watching a Death Shadow matchup versus a Grove of the Burnwillows deck, and they just have two Grove, and they're not even casting anything. They're just like, in your instep, I'm going to gain you 2 life.
Yeah, they don't even have to do anything. We'll talk about, for just a second, we'll talk about the Amulet Titan deck. This Amulet Titan deck is we're pretty much on what we know we're going to be on. 28 lands is now the, like, base of what an Amulet Titan deck will be. Which seems insane to me, but it's insane, but it's not, because the lands are what win you the game, really, honestly. The double cavern, I think, is insane that they're playing in this instead of the 4th gemstone mine or an extra ghost quarter or something else that does something. Maybe even an extra double land might.
I don't know
might
that
like
that
more.
Fixing or more acceleration is what they need, though. I feel like
you want to make sure you hit your bounce lands. I played this deck for a very long time.
I feel like
the bounce lands are the most important part.
What did you lose to the most when you were playing it, though? Cryptic Command?
Never lost to a control deck.
Really?
0. This is the best control killer ever. You don't even have to have a cavern. I will still outvalue you all day. You can't stop it. And by the time that you just don't win. Your cards don't match up well against my cards, and my value through through Teleria West, through my Azuzas, just playing lands and lands.
Plus, you get to do everything every turn.
Yeah, I get a pack. I can pact you when you try to kill my stuff when I go off. I mean, it's really hard for you to beat me. I just think that it's a very good matchup. The control matchup is something that I would look for. I would actively be hoping to play.
Yeah, you'd be
that
happy
matchup.
too.
Double cavern, I don't think is necessary. A single. Okay. I mean, you have 3
Fair
other
enough.
Teleria West. You can grab cavern when you need to. I just think. I don't know. There's other land. Maybe if you think control is going to be super heavy, cavern just makes it way easier. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about, guys. I haven't played the deck in a long time. The deck is great though. It's great whenever you play it a lot. But we're literally playing some Ray Green Eldrazi as soon as possible.
Oh, for sure.
Really excited about that. So we got to talk about a little bit of Legacy, because we had a mixed format team constructed tournament in Worcestershire.
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 This weekend,
in first place, we got Jacob Saratino playing with Matthew Katrupe and Brian Cook. I definitely messed up all of your names. Probably Bryant Cook the most. Definitely messed that name up. In Legacy, he was playing Storm. We got Red Black Aggro, which was very popular this weekend in Standard, and Jeskai Control in Modern.
That seems like a decent lineup.
Seems like a good lineup.
You have your Legacy slot where you just get free wins.
Combo, Aggro, and Control.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I dig it. In second place, you've got You Are Gift Storm in Modern with Dylan Gooley, which is a funny name. And Red Black Aggro again with Alex Frindringson. And then Teamer Delver, Nathan Robinson in second.
We see kind of a similar trend there where you're playing combo, aggro, and then I guess Teamer Delver, it's more a tempo deck.
Tempo deck.
But
also, watching this weekend, right? Watching a little bit of the Legacy, Teamer Delver did not look as good as I thought it would.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Nimble Mongoose didn't look great. Every time I saw it on camera. Stifle did not look great every time I saw it on camera. It's like people knew. I mean, Teamer, it's probably the best Delver deck right now.
I feel like you could make that call. Like, okay,
everyone knew
Deathrite
Teamer was going to be the de facto deck.
Delver. Yeah.
Now, I do think it will be good eventually, but I think there's something. It's just not there yet. But somebody named Noah Walker, who will not stop playing Grixis Delver, decided to bring a new brew version of Grixis to the table, and he's playing a different 1-drop, and I like it.
I like it too. That 1-drop, ladies and gentlemen, is Bomat Courier, the ultimate 1/1 swing at your face and generate lots of card advantage over a multiple turn card.
So I'm going to talk to you about this deck right now, but I implore you, if you haven't seen it yet, if you were interested in Legacy at all, if you're even interested in the way that cards just work, go listen to Noah Walker give a deck breakdown on this deck with Nick Miller and the sideboard or whatever on SCG. However you can watch it, YouTube, their YouTube or whatever.
Just check it out.
Bomat Courier is what he decided to come to the tournament with instead, because you're not really a 4-color deck anymore. So you get to play 3 Underground Sea, 3 Volks. So you get to cut that. So it's kind of that teamer land base. You also get to still play Gurmag Angler. True Name Nemesis is now in the main. You get 2 Young Pyromancers, your 4 Delvers, 4 Brainstorms, only 1 Cabal Therapy because your Young Pyromancer, your Cabal Therapies just aren't as good when Gataxian Probe are out of the format. But you do get 2 Fork Bolts now, which is better. It really helps you out against decks like Death and Taxes, which I think got a lot better. It helps you out against the Delver Mirrors. 4 Lightning Bolts, 4 Ponders, 3 Preordains, which is more card draw, just, even better. So now you've got Brainstorm, Preordain, and Ponder. You're always going to find what you want. 2 Spell Pierce, 4 Days, 4 Force of Will. You just have big hitting threats. Your sideboard is a beast. Double a Braid in the sideboard. I think a Braid might be one of the best cards in Legacy right now, like sideboard wise. So good. And to hear him talk about it, he's like, yeah, I got to take out, I can't play Ancient Grudge anymore. Ancient Grudge is probably better when it just comes to straight up artifact removal.
Yeah.
But you're not playing green anymore, and you're not going to splash your green land just to play Ancient Grudge. And if you don't have Deathrite Shaman, then you're not getting it reliably. Play double a Braid. A Braid kills lots of things. It kills the Batterskull or it kills the Stoneforge Mystic.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I think it's a great card right now.
It's super present and standard too, so it really shows. And it's starting to pop up more in modern.
I just think it's a great utility card. That it's a 2 mana. So it's a great card against Chalice. So I can't kill. I've got a kill spell that also stops your Chalice. Your Chalice on one. But let's talk about the real elephant or construct in the room, which is Bomat Courier. Bomat Courier, without any 1/2s left in the format, is so good.
Yeah.
So yes, this card is going to be hot garbage against elves. So what? You're going to take it out against elves. No one's going to want this card against elves. That's fine. It's going to be really bad against, I don't know, nothing. I mean, elves. That's about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be great.
I guess Merfolk, but that's not very present either.
It's not going to be great against Death and Taxes, but it's not bad. I mean, it's a 1-mana, 1/1 haste. The thing that's awesome in this deck, though, is you've got so many dazes, so many Force of Wills. You've got so many counters that you're just kind of, if you can drop it on one, start hitting them, start putting cards underneath it, emptying your hand by countering things, bolting and fork bolting their stuff, and then you get to refill your hand with 3 or 4 cards. Yeah. Even once, that's so much game.
I think that's the big thing. It's like Delver decks are so reactive in the way they play that you stick a Bomat Courier on one, it starts getting in and going to town. You're tempoing them out with the cards that are in your hand, and typically, because you're playing Dazes and Force of Wills, at any point you almost always have one red up. So your opponent will always feel like, okay, I just can't remove Bomat Courier.
Yeah, I really think that it's awesome. Honestly, it's so cool that I'm going to try this over Teamer Delver right now, because I think Teamer Delver is the de facto go-to. This is what we're playing in Legacy, and I don't want to be that guy. Like, I do love Teamer Delver, and it's been a part of me for a long time, and I haven't been able to play it in forever. But at the same time, this is pretty cool, and I love Bomat Courier.
Yeah, and I mean, what's your opponent going to do?
Your boy bought 28 of them.
What's your opponent going to do? Force a Will Bomat Courier? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
You're still 2 cards down to my 1. I really like
my 1/1 haste.
And to be completely honest, I don't subscribe to his. I don't subscribe completely. I'm not saying, but I trust Noah Walker.
Yeah.
He's been playing this deck long enough, and he knows what he's doing. But in third, he was also playing on a super great team.
Yeah.
Right, and that team played Black Red Hollow One, Mike Segrist, who is super high on this deck. We've talked about Mike Segrist's list. It's, I think, your exact list. This is the list that I think if you're playing this deck is what you should be playing.
100%. This is exactly what I'm playing. -2 engineered explosives because they cost way too much money.
Yeah,
for me
but
to buy.
at the tournament, this is what you'll be
Exactly.
playing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think this is the best list. And if you're gonna trust somebody, trust a dude who's like the one pro that's super high on this list.
I think it might have been Mike Segrist that I have made a decision that I'm gonna go down a Blackcleave Cliffs and up to a 9th fetch. And I think I don't remember who wrote the article or what video I was watching. It might have been him, but the what had kind of triggered that in my head was they had said I'm considering going down. It might have been a comment section on a article about Hollow One actually, but they said I'm considering going down a Blackcleave Cliffs and up to a 9th fetch. And when I saw that, I was like, that's not bad. Like a lot of times, Blackcleave Cliffs is the land that I don't want to see the most.
Right.
And just having that extra delve fodder, I think is super great. One big difference is he's on. He went the other route, and he's on 2 Blood Crypt and went up a basic. So he's actually less fetchable lands, less fetchable duels, that is, and up a basic mountain, which I'm not really sure why, but it's interesting. I'm going to sidestep here real quick, and it's going to draw out the pod, and I apologize for that. And Seth is probably not going to want to talk about it, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring it up. But I want to play Legacy so bad, and I love this Grixer. I love this Grixer deck, this Grixis Delver deck by Noah Walker so much, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, Bomat Courier, playset, $2. Delver Secrets playset, $7. One True Name Nemesis, $13. That's kind of expensive. That's not so bad. I mean, I play Modern. I'm going through, I'm looking at everything, and I hit Force of Will. Okay, I understand Force of Will is an expensive card. I go and I start looking at the land base. Fetches, not a big deal. I understand that. And we get to Underground Sea and Volcanic Island, and 3 Underground Seas is $2,370.
Oh, really? Oh, I should probably sell mine. I mean,
Underground Sea right now, if I pull up the price history, is currently, this is from, what set is this from? Revised. A revised Underground Sea is $790.
Wow. Yeah.
I cannot play a colored deck outside of mono white in Legacy, period.
Yeah,
I just can't.
It kind of seems that way, right?
I can't afford to do it. I don't even have the, like, I've spent a lot of money on building up my Modern collection, right? I don't even have enough value in my Modern cards to turn into just the land base for one of these Legacy Delver decks.
You don't think?
No.
Yeah, see that, and that's an issue. And you think that it might be turning. Oh, yeah, it's gonna extend the podcast a little bit, but I agree. I agree that's a huge issue.
Yeah, because that went like, I love the deck and I love Bomat Courier, but what struck me more than this new hot tech was the price of those dual lands, and that as someone who enjoys the game because I get to play it and not because my cards retain value or gain value over time. Like, yeah, that I like that, but I'm never going out and selling cards for cash, and if I do, I'm using that cash to buy more cards. Now I understand, like, some collectors may think differently. You know, they have their cards as a backup financially. And I don't want to be one of those guys who's like, oh man, do away with the reserve list, you know, or not reserve list, but whatever it's called. Like, that's fine. I understand keeping collectors in mind when it comes to printing cards, but when you have an entire format that you're doing coverage on, that people have to spend, you know, like this Grixis Delver deck, because of the land base, is $5 short of $5,000.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I'm starting to agree with you. I remember trying to get into the format and thinking it was so. Right when I started playing competitive Magic, I spiked in IQ. Right, I just crushed them. It was Bant Hexproof at the time. I'd never even played in a tournament that wasn't F&M. I went there and I just went undefeated, crushed the whole thing. Didn't even really realize what I had just won.
Yeah.
So It was a 90-person IQ. I was like, dang, I must be good at Magic. No, I wasn't that good. I wasn't very good. I just happened to make the right deck choice on the right day and really killed
You had a
everybody.
good day.
So anyways, I won an IQ, and I was like, nice, I must be good. I better go play in this IQ. Well, the IQs at that time were split format, standard, and legacy. There was no modern was not a big deal when I first started playing. So I was like, all right, sweet. I got to find a legacy deck. How do I do that? Well, at that time, legacy decks were probably the price of a modern deck now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're talking 1,500, maybe $2,000
Was this
on
after
the
reserve
highest.
list was put into effect?
No, I mean this was not even that long ago. This was
okay.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I mean the reserve list has been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
But dual lands were still only like $200. Yeah, I mean like a volcanic island was $200. But I remember being like, how am I ever going to play Legacy? And it took me building up a modern collection, selling my modern collection, building up my Legacy collection, selling standard cards, getting modern cards, selling modern cards when they got hot, built to buy Legacy cards. It took me multiple iterations of that same loop before I had a Legacy collection, and now I have a rather large Legacy collection.
Yeah.
I bought almost solely Legacy cards for over 2 years. Like, if I was going to buy cards, they were going to be Legacy cards.
Yeah.
They were going to be cards, and now I'm happy that I did that. The problem is, no one else plays Legacy. So I have a few Legacy decks that I never get to play.
Well, I wonder why they don't play.
And but see, they could have gotten in.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They could have gotten in for the same price that it costs to play Modern right now.
Well, it's the same way. Like, people are like, I built Hollow One when it was. I spent $300 to buy all the cards for Hollow One.
Isn't that insane?
And
Yeah,
now it's like $1,000 plus.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm upset because I want other people to be able to play the format that I think is the best format in Magic.
I could agree with you. The hands that when we come here and we get ready to do the pod and we play pickup games just for fun, the most fun I have, even though I've been playing Hollow One for forever and Modern's my favorite format, the most fun I have is when we play Legacy games.
Well, I think a big part of it too is like you thought in your brain and what everybody tells you and what you hear people say, Legacy is the fastest format. Do you want to die on turn one?
That's always what I've thought.
Yeah, everybody goes, oh, you want to die on turn one? Play Legacy. It's stupid. You want to spend all that money and die on turn one? No, that's not how Legacy goes.
Yeah.
Legacy is literally the most interactive format because of cards like Force of Will, because of these wardens of the format. It takes so much skill, so much thinking, so much. Like, we were playing games where my brainstorm, I put the card in the wrong order and lost the game.
Yeah.
Like, there were so many things I didn't daze something to protect myself from Wasteland early enough, and it almost cost me the entire game. Like, there's these tiny little micro edges that you get from playing cards in the right order, in the right sequence, and knowing the format as well. And where Modern to me is the fastest format by far. You have the most
play turn 1 4/4.
Yeah. And just crush, and there's no way you can catch back up.
Yeah.
There's like nothing I can do sometimes when you go your turn 1 4/4 or 2 4/4s. It's almost comical to me to hear people say that Modern is a healthier format than Legacy. I do think Modern is a great format. It's really fun. It's really powerful, but it's not the same.
I think it's healthier in the sense of the number of viable decks that you can play that are competitive on the same level as the other decks in the format.
No. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the reason that we don't see more Legacy decks is because there's no Brewers left in Legacy.
You really think so?
There's a billion more cards. You don't think there's going to be more decks out there?
I guess you're right.
The reason that we don't see more Legacy decks, and there are a lot of Legacy decks. Trust me, if you go to an actual Legacy tournament, in those first couple rounds, you never know what you're going to see.
Yeah.
But it's not as popular of a format.
And I think
you're not seeing the brewing.
That's my ultimate point, is I don't want to hate on the reserve list because I think it's fine. I think it's fine to want collectors to have that, guaranteed my cards will retain value over time. But like, could you imagine, like, okay, say, and I may think think differently down the road if I were to ever have underground seas. And I'm like, okay, my 3 underground seas are $2,300. I may sit there and think to myself, yeah, I don't want those to be reprinted at all. But right now, not
if
owning
you
them,
spent that much money on them, maybe, but not
right now,
like,
not owning them, I like to play the game. I like other people to play the game. I like to have other people to play with. I like the game to be as healthy as possible in every format. If I had Underground Seas right now, I can honestly say, now, like I said, I may think differently if I actually had them, but not owning them, I could say, if they got reprinted, I wouldn't be upset because that means I get to play with them more. I get to, like, I'm not a person who gets cards to make money. So imagine the number of players, the influx of players, I should say, to Legacy if they reprinted the dual lands.
Yeah,
I feel like the older ones wouldn't lose value.
Oh, they would totally lose value. Like, why? What's
I mean,
the point of playing?
they would, but it's the same way like a Lorwyn Thoughtseize is way more expensive than a Theros Thoughtseize.
Yeah, kind of, but not really. Try to sell one. You know, how is it when you're trading or when you're trying to get rid of something?
Yeah.
How hard is it to get rid of like a Lorwyn for a premium compared to just like, just get rid of the other one?
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you. I think that the reserve list is kind of a mess, and it definitely is hurting. I mean, Legacy's dead. I mean, it's dying.
Yeah.
It's completely dead. And this last push for the reserve list jump, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden reserve list cards are going crazy.
Yeah.
Is the nail in the coffin, I think.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to derail the entire pod. It's just like when I sit there and I'm wanting to look at a deck for what it is,
and they're all $5,000.
Yeah, like when I'm like, oh yeah, heck yeah, Grixis Delver, I got, it has Bomet Courier now. That's awesome. I would love to play that. And Underground Seas are
I honestly didn't, because I've had them for so long at this point, I just had no clue that they had gotten that bad.
Yeah, they're insane.
Here's the other thing. Play Legacy, play in tournaments around your local meta, and let you proxy dual lands. And just build everything else and just let them let you proxy duels.
I've heard a lot of online personalities in the Magic community call for proxy tournaments.
Why not? Why not let you proxy dual lands?
Because it's the same idea as reprinting dual lands. The value degrades.
So you can't play with proxies in a sanctioned Magic tournament. But for local meta and just to be able to play, guys, play them. It's like playing on Magic Online. You can play them on Magic Online for $20 per dual land.
Yeah.
Right? So is that the same? I just think that you should be able to play locally. Like, with your friends, you should be able to learn and play the best format ever. And it is the best format. In my mind, there's no doubt it is the best it is the most fun. It is the most interactive. It is the craziest format. I mean, you can do all kinds of things, but you also have checks and balances that prevent it from being degenerate. Like, it is a degenerate format by nature, but you have so many checks and balances set in place and cards that can kind of help. Yeah, like that we end up playing some of the best games ever.
Yeah.
Yes, there's decks like Turn 1 Reanimate, okay? That's a super annoying thing.
I mean, there's that in Modern, too.
But that happens in Modern, too, and there's no force of will to stop it.
Exactly.
Here's the other thing. You could play Death and Taxes right now, which I am going to go ahead and call the top, guaranteed top 5. Maybe, I would say probably top 3 deck, and that is a deck that has no reserve list cards in it, right? It's completely reprinted. Every card in the deck is reprinted.
Yeah.
And it's $1,000 deck. It's as much as a deck, and it's as much as any modern deck.
Yeah.
How come people aren't playing it?
Looking at Legacy Death and Taxes from the Legacy Classic in Worcester, in 13th, we have $1,352. That is absolutely right in the range of playing any other modern deck.
It is, completely. Yeah. You could also play Reanimator. I mean, you need 2 Badlands. Badlands is like the cheapest of all. Like, it's not the cheapest one, but it's
there's actually 2 copies of Death and Taxes in the top 16. So if you look at Death and Taxes in the top 16 at Worcester, at the Classic. You have 2 copies, both in the $1,300 range. And then you look at every other... The only deck that's cheaper is Goblins.
Yeah, Goblins is now going to be a deck.
Yeah, so you got Temur Delver, $4,000. Stoneblade, $3,500. Grixis Death Shadow. I didn't know Death Shadow was a thing in Legacy. That's pretty cool.
Death Shadow is a thing in Legacy. It's not common. This is kind of a cool list. We could talk about it for a minute. The cool thing about this list is that you don't really play that many duels because you kind of want your shock lands. But you get to play Stifle, Thoughtseize, Daze, Force of Will. You know, other than that, it's a Delver deck with Death Shadows in it, and it's pretty cool.
But okay, I'm not trying to doo-doo on the format because I love Legacy. Even though I haven't played it much, the games I have played, it's super fun. And it's really good. And I just, my point is, I wish it was cheaper. And, you know, hey, if you're listening and you think it's cheaper too, you know, talk about it. If the community starts talking about a format that's dying, that is ridiculously expensive, maybe they'll do something. I'm not saying they'll reprint Dual Lands. I'm not saying they'll make a functional reprint because they can't do that either. But maybe there's something that they see that we don't.
I don't know. I think that either way, it's a really fun format, and I really wish that people would play it. But other than that, I think we're kind of going to wrap it up. I mean...
Yeah, I think the only other, and I'll run through them really, really quick, was the classics from Worcester. So we had the Team Open, which was, we went over some of those results. And that's kind of hard as far as individual formats to determine where those decks are sitting, because a lot of times how well your team does doesn't strictly depend on how well you did in your particular format. So I'll go over the classics. The Modern Classic of Worcester. First place we have Green-White Hexproof by Brian Hack. I'll just do the top 8. Grixis Death Shadow in second with Brandon Dolloway. That's a name we all know. Third is Pure Steel Combo by Benjamin Riley, which I would assume is Cheerios. Which it is, a bunch of 0-drop artifacts and Grape Shot. I love that deck. I'm trying to get my friend to build that deck currently. He's been out of Magic for a long time. And he's like, man, I want to play a Pure Steel deck. I'm like, you need to play that one. Fourth, we have Eldrazi with Aaron Todesio.
This is a weird list, though.
Let me take a look at it. So, that's the Cheerios list. Sorry, people. So we have 4 Walking Ballista, 4 Matter Reshaper, 4 Thought-Knot Seer, 4 Reality Smasher, 4 Endbringer, 1 Worm Coil, 1 Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, 2 Warping Will, 2 Dismember, 2 All Is Dust, 4 Chalice of the Void, 4 Expedition Map. That seems pretty normal, right? For Eldrazi?
Oh, maybe... No, I'm sorry. I think I was thinking of the Classic. The Classic had a really weird one.
But anyway, so there's that. The lands are pretty normal. You got all those wicked sideboard cards that they're running. Fifth, we have Dredge with Terrence Campo. Affinity in 6. Alan. I'm sure this is why people listen to our pod, to hear us just butcher names.
Yeah, that's the biggest reason.
Alan Breitman. 7th, Blue White Control with Chi Hoi Yim. 8th is Ironworks combo with Garrett Allen. So congratulations to all those players. I'm very happy you did well. And that's a super diverse top 8 right there, people. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different decks. And that's what we're going over every time we're talking about these modern top 8s. They're just super diverse. And
I agree with you there. We are constantly going over deck after deck. The thing is that we hit modern so much that you kind of see the same decks performing well, and as a collective group, we know what's doing well. Like we know modern
as modern
pretty
players.
Well.
Yeah, they know what's going on. Then we have the Legacy Classic, which we were talking about just a little bit when we were going over the price of dual lands. First is Eldrazi Post. I'm going to skip names just to save a little bit of time here as we're wrapping up. Second is Blue-White Stoneblade. Third is Temur Delver. And the reason I'm wanting to go over this is because this is kind of one of our first big results since the banning. So it's kind of interesting to see.
I think this is super important.
Where it's falling. Like you have Goblins in 4th, which, to my knowledge, Legacy Goblins hasn't been that big of a thing.
Legacy Goblins has been dead since we figured out that Deathrite Shaman was good. A 1/2 that stops all your 1/1s that want to do things is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge deterrent from playing that deck. So the fact that we get to play that now is insane.
Yeah,
Like,
super awesome. 5th is Turbo Depths. 6th is Jeskai Stoneblade. 7th, Black Red Reanimator, which I expected to see more of since Deathrite Shaman being gone. And
But
8th is that Grixis Death Shadow.
you also
list.
get more Teamer Delver, which is a Delver deck that runs more counterspells than typical. So it kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah. So I think that's going to do it for today, guys. We appreciate you listening anywhere you do. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or just anything
Hit us
interesting
up
you'd like to say,
hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up, email us, whatever you want
YouTube
to do.
comments, whatever you're into.
We also are going to come back with the Deck Doctor, and I think this Deck Doctor is going to be over Red Green Eldrazi. It'll also be over one other deck we have not decided yet. So next week, stay tuned for a in-depth review over Red Green Eldrazi and another deck.
Peace.
Later.